Simon, agents. The late Mino Raiola, when he was alive, you and Mino used to have a real joust on this show, did you not? And Raiola made it quite clear. I do the best job I can possibly do for my client. In the process...
I was getting paid by everybody else to do it.
If I happen to make millions out of it, then tough. I make millions out of it. And he really used to push back at you when you were on live with him. Well, it was very entertaining.
He used to
stuff.
push back against the ridiculous assertion that he wasn't the captain of division.
Yeah.
And whilst telling everyone, whilst engineering a situation where Paul Pogba was constantly in a situation of division because he knew that he was going to make money from Pogba's move. So his ridiculous argument that I don't create division was always debunked by me.
Well, of course,
when
now...
he wasn't sulking, putting the phone down.
It's a different world for agents because they've got to pass an exam now if they're to continue to operate, as well as changes to rules concerning the representation of multiple clients in a transaction and the representation of minors and the capping of agents' fees. Now, that has really got them. Hang on a second.
Everything else is fine.
Hang on a second.
Don't take our money away.
We used to earn fortunes. Now you're going to cap our fees. So, at the moment, they are putting up one hell of a fight. They're not having it. They're going to a tribunal, and it's going to come to the FA versus agents. They're going to sock it out. The man who used to look after Mesut Ozil, amongst others, is Erkut Sogut. And he was speaking recently about how unfair things have got.
You sign a player, 16, 17-year-old. You look after the player for 4 or 5 years, giving the player boots, going to the games, train ticket, flight ticket, everything, helping out, needs a doctor, spending money for 5 years. And then it comes to a deal and the club says, yeah, only 3%. And you have to pay tax on that. And you probably work with another agent on that deal as well. So you split the commission into 1.5, you pay tax on that. And then FIFA says, yeah, you have to survive with that. And then imagine your player signs with a League One team or Championship, League One, League Two in the beginning, right? Young player, there's not much money. So the first time for that young player you may probably make money is the second pro contract, not the first one. And that will take 5 to 6 years of investment of time and energy. And then they tell me you're only eligible to get 3%. How is that possible?
Has he got a point? Has he got a point? I heard you mumbling throughout it.
Yeah, well, I find it difficult to have any empathy. On one hand, you're saying that you sign a player and you've created this player and it's all down to you and you got them the boots and you gave them this and you gave them that and then you're splitting that payment with someone else. So either you're running this player's career or you're not. Look, they've had it too good for too long. It's the football's fault. They deregulated. When all the money came in, it seems to me that all the rules just got rescinded. You couldn't represent more than one entity. You couldn't represent the buying club, selling club and the player once upon a time. And then the more money went to football, then you can represent everything. And then you can represent their Aunt Matilda as well if you want to in the equation. The bottom line is that the agents can get paid what they want from their clients. But the only people that don't pay them are the people they represent. Where I do have some empathy for them, and it's deep down at the very bottom of the barrel, is if you engage an agent to sell a player for you, and they are developing a transfer fee, I do think there should be an element of you can pay them what you think that's worth in terms of if you want to get £50 million for a player and people are only bidding 35 and they're able to create a situation where they get 50 million, it should be the football club's choice to some extent how much commission they might pay that agent. So I do get a degree of empathy around that. But as far as what they're getting from the players, well, first and foremost, why don't you get the players to pay you themselves? Because they don't. They load it upon the football clubs. And that's like no other industry, every other industry in the world. The entertainment industry, you engage an agent, you pay your agent. The housing market, you want your house sold, you pay the estate agent. And on we go. This ridiculous argument that somehow it's landed at the feet of the football clubs to pay the agents a percentage of a player's salary. And they come up with this ridiculous argument like, well, you know, it's before tax. Everybody pays tax. Everybody pays money out of their net proceeds. That's how the world works. Why has football got this preposterous, immature notion that the ideals behind it are that they should be different to everybody else and that everybody else should pay for it? And the agents now have been brought into line because they have created division in football. I do make this observation that if you follow the corruption in football, most of the time you'll find it seated in the areas of football agency and their ideals and whose mind they will.
So you think they've had it too good too long? Now they're trying to buy themselves time.
But it's football's fault. Football allowed it.
Yeah.
They allowed the genie out of the bottle. Now they're trying to stuff it back in and put the lid back on top.
But you'd accept that the vast majority of agents who don't represent big name clients don't make a fortune. Although, ironically, it's 4 of the country's biggest agencies who are the biggest earners.
Yeah. I bet that's
who are crying about it.
I bet it's Jonathan Bennett at the top of the queue. Don't even need to give me the names.
Stella are in there.
There you go.
But they've launched legal action in an attempt to block the FA from implementing FIFA's changes. They're trying to buy themselves time. Is it worth it? Are they just going to have to knuckle down and get on with it?
Well, if you're a football agent and you feel that there's an opportunity... First of all, let's look at the principles of what they're trying to do. They're trying to look at the ridiculous amounts of money going out of the game. Hundreds of millions of pounds going to football agents, right? They're also trying to look at the quality. Nothing wrong with the quality. Nothing wrong with making them take examinations. Because, by the way, if you want to be a football coach responsible for educating and informing people, you have to go through badges and you have to qualify and train for it. And these football agents should do the same thing. And the fact that half
Mind you, owners don't take exams.
Owners don't need to take exams.
Don't have to pass exams.
Well, there's a very different criteria.
They've just got dough.
They have to go for a fit and proper person's test.
No, but that's all you've got, though.
Hang on. They have to go for a fit and proper person's test, and they have to test, and then they also have to have a substantial amount of means to buy a football club.
Right.
They're putting money into football. Agents are taking money out of football. It's a different dynamic. So there's and ultimately, if you exhibited a level of proficiency to have the kind of quantums of cash that it takes to run a football club, you've already passed an exam in life that you're a businessman of some stature. Of course there's exceptions, and that's what a fit and proper person's test inside football is supposed to be able to distinguish. Go back to the agents and say to you, well, you know what, if your players aren't at a level and you aren't able to get them the deals that you want that gives you the prerequisite return from everyone else's pocket, then get better at your job. Who gave you a God-given right to be able to make fortunes out of football if you're average at what you do? Football already rewards mediocrity. Why should it reward mediocrity on the back of Divisive, the Divisive faction that creates most of its revenue from division?
But briefly, if they were trying to change the rules around ownership, you will go down swinging. That's all the agents are doing. They're going down swinging.
No, they are changing the rules.
They know change is coming, but they're going down swinging.
They are changing. They've changed the rules around ownership massively. Once upon a time, to buy a football club, I know I did it, you had a certain amount of money, you had to put a certain amount of share capital up, and in terms of $1 million quid of
that
share
doesn't
capital.
impact your income.
No.
The agent's income's getting impacted.
But what I'm then saying is then what does impact your income is you have to present certain amounts of cash flow funding. You have to present certain amounts of cash being available on deposit with the bank. So you do have a responsibility to run a football club in a very different way.
Like the guy at Reading didn't do.
Well, the fact of the matter is he has done it because he's paid ridiculous salaries. What's got him sanctioned is he's gone beyond the pale. Rather than pay what he should be paying, he's paid more.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much sadness do you feel for agents at the moment as to what they're going through?
0.
Okay, there we go. It's 10:30.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.